Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to part. What are we at? 7? Let me just make sure I got the part right. We're at part 7, so welcome back to part 7 of the Building a Game with Gemini series. And we got our platformer, and the jump is no longer working for whatever reason. So, the first thing we're gonna do is fix our jumping. And I was actually looking back at the previous video, and I think I might have some idea on what might have happened, so let's give that a shot. I think what might have happened is our player object. Wait, oh, we're in the game view. Let's go back to the scene view. So I think the Capsule Collider 2D is just wrapped too tight around the player. So let's just try putting that theory to the test and see if this fixes the problem. Nah, it doesn't look like it did anything. What if I do this? Nope, still nothing. Okay, so I was wrong. So let's go back to Gemini. Breathing dynamically on the platform, and so this is where we left off, basically. Um, we set up our animations folder, created the animations, and it wanted us to test that he's breathing, which he is. So let me revert back the changes with the capsule collider back to just wrapping the player. That's about it. Right, okay. And now let me let Gemini know that the player is breathing as expected. However, the jump function stopped working. Jump buttons stopped working. Not sure if this is expected. It's definitely not expected, so your buttons should still be fully functional. What happened is a common Unity hierarchy trap. When you drag the animation's frames directly onto your player in the hierarchy, Unity sometimes creates a brand new duplicate animated component on the object, or it alters the way your object processes input if something accidentally got dragged onto a child object instead of the root. So let's fix your jump buttons. Check for duplicate components. We're going to do all these verification steps. So the first thing to check is check for duplicate components. So right click or click on the player in the hierarchy, scroll down through the inspector, and look to see if you now have two animated components or if your player input or player controller script components accidentally got disabled. So player input is still checked. Um, do we have two animators? No, we don't. Or the player controller script components accidentally got disabled. This would be the tiny checkbox next to the component name. Player input. No, this is good. Wasn't there some sort of a player controller script right here? Jump force is 9. Okay, so this looks fine. If so, second thing to check is verify UI button target. If your mobile canvas buttons were set up to call your scripts directly, dragging things into the hierarchy can sometimes break the reference clicks up. So expand your canvas. Mobile controls. Select your jump button. I don't think this is gonna matter. Okay, jump button, on click, button south, gamepad, on clicked list is empty. Make sure the object slot still has your player controller or your player object dragged into it. It doesn't. Should it? No. Jump button. Okay, let me read through it again. Expand your canvas. Mobile controls in the hierarchy. So we're in mobile controls. Select jump button. We do have it selected. Make sure the object slot still has your player object dragged into it. Object slot. Object slot. What do you mean by the object slot? Make sure the object slot still has your player object dragged into it. Scroll down to the on click inspector. Okay, so here is where we drag the player. Okay, and the function is pointed to, I think we might have found the problem. And the drop down is still correctly pointed to player controller jump. I don't have a jump option here. And what about the left and right buttons? I mean, these are also empty, so I don't know what it's. I think it's hallucinating there. So let's delete this. A list is empty. So that's not the problem either. I think the problem might have something to do with the way we resized the capsule collider. And the reason I think that is because I was looking at the previous video, and right after the resize, the player would not jump at the same time when you moved the player. So I wonder if we messed something up here. So let me do a screenshot. And let's see if I can figure it out. Check out this screenshot. First issue I noticed was right after I resized the capsule collider 2D object. The player stopped jumping at the same time um, uh, while moving before it worked perfectly. Now it seems After adding animations, jump stopped working completely. So maybe it knows what's going on based on this screenshot. Reveal the exact culprit. Look closely at your player object in the scene view. Your green ground check line is floating completely in the air right beneath the masked dude, entirely disconnected from his feet. Because you resized the masked dude's main collider, his body moved up, but that empty ground check child object stayed at its original spatial coordinates. Since that green check line isn't physically touching the floor tiles, your script permanently thinks that the player's falling in midair. Unity's jump logic is intentionally blocking your input because it believes you're not grounded. So here's how to align it perfectly. Reposition the ground check child object and verify your script layer settings. So let's follow these steps. Easy enough. In the hierarchy, click the small arrow next to your player. Nah, not this. Um, okay. So click the small arrow next to your player object to expand its children, and then click on ground check object. Okay. This is the ground check object. Yep. Yep. Use the move tool to slide that object up until the green line sits exactly at the masked dude's feet. Okay. So let's set it here maybe. So again, select the player in the hierarchy. So step 2, verify your script layer setting. Select the player in the hierarchy. Scroll down to your player controller script component. Okay, right here. And look at the ground layer property. Ground layer set to ground. Check at the very top right of your inspector. Your actual floor tile map is assigned to the ground layer. Actual floor tile map. Okay, check the very top right of your inspector. Okay. Your actual floor tile map is assigned to the ground layer, which is great. However, ensure that player object remains on the default layer. Okay, so it is on the default layer. Right. And let's see if this fixed the problem. No, it didn't. It didn't fix the problem. Maybe we need to move it more. Right here, maybe. Let's try. Okay, that fixed it. Okay, so it has to be touching, and that pretty much fixed the whole problem with it not jumping while moving, and also the problem with the jump not working at all. But now we can't reach that second coin up there, so so we gotta figure out some sort of a trick. Maybe we can jump on top of this guy and then collect the coin. Or lower the coin. Okay, very cool. All right, let's get back in there. Okay, so now done. Jumping is back. Good. We then just copy this part, whatever you wanted me to do last. Hook up the transition code so he automatically transitions into his running animation when we move. All right, so let's see what the steps are. Let's hook up that transition logic. So mass do switches seamlessly between breathing and running. To do this, we need to pass a piece of data from our player controller script into the animator window so the animator knows exactly when the player is moving. So step one would be create an animator parameter. So let's just follow along these. Oh, it's not, it seems like a bit of work here. So let's follow along these 4 steps. Step one is create an animator parameter. So go back to your animator window. So let's go back to our animations folder and then we double click the player controller. So this is our player animator controller. Alrighty, so double click on it. And on the left side of the animator window, select the parameters. Parameters. And click on the plus button and choose Boolean. So plus Boolean. And we're going to name this is running. Okay, small letter I and is running. Okay, done. Step 2, create the transition arrows. So we need to tell Unity how to travel between our 2 states. Right click the MaxDude idle state box. MaxDude underscore idle. Okay, right click this and select make transition and click on the MaxDude run box. Alrighty. I think we can rearrange this however we want without causing any problems. Um, so fingers crossed always. And now we're gonna click on right click MaxDude run state box and we're gonna click make transition and click back on MaxDude idle. So it's gonna have 2 arrows pointing back and forth. Step 3 is configure the transition rules. So now we tell the arrows when to fire. Arrow 1, idle to run. So idle to run this guy. We're gonna look at the inspector on the right and adjust these settings. It has exit time. Inspector on the right. And we're gonna adjust these settings. So uncheck this box. Has exit time, just so you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this steps or these steps right here, but specifically this one. So uncheck this box. Has exit time. Okay, there we go. Uncheck this. Um, this ensures he runs instantly instead of waiting for his breathing animation to finish. And then expand settings and set transition duration to 0. Expand settings. Settings. No, not that. Oh, settings here. And set transition duration to 0. So from 0.25 to 0. And under conditions box at the bottom, click on the plus button. Condition box at the bottom, click on the plus button. And we're going to set it to read is running equals true. So it looks like they're pre-selected. Okay. And looks like we're pretty much done with this one. So now we click on the arrow again. Okay, so condition is set. Now click on the other arrow going the opposite direction. So from run to idle. And we're probably going to do the same thing. Let's see. So click on the arrow pointing back from run to idle. Adjust the settings exactly the same. It has exit time. Uncheck this box. Transition duration should be 0. Conditions, click on the plus button. And is running, I would guess, is false. Yep. And now we're going to update our player controller script, which is the final step. We need to pass our movement input into that is running parameter via code. So go back to our scripts folder, assets, scripts, player controller. And we're going to follow the instructions 2 to 4. So near the top of the script where your other variables are defined, add a reference to the animator component. So we're going to copy uh, the line of code from step 2 and paste it near our top of the script where other variables are defined. So let's define defining animator. Okay. And inside our start function, so this is step 3, inside our start function, which is start, our player controller does not have a start function. Okay, so inside your start function, grab that component, but we don't actually have a start function here that I can see. Maybe it means the wake function, but let's copy the code, go back to Gemini, and say we do not have a start function, and copy and paste the code. Okay, that's what I suspected. Let's just put it in the awake function. Did it rewrite anything else other than the changes we were making? Okay, so right here is where they performed step 2, which is grabbing that component, and then the update function, we're going to add those 2 lines of code. So in our awake function, we are going to add our grab our animator components, grab the animator component. So declaring animator, so defining. And now step 4 is inside our update function, add this line to check if our movement value is anything other than 0. So let's go to our update function there and paste the code. And again, looks like it also skipped the if statements on this snippet that it provided over here. So yeah, it gives you different results sometimes. um, so I wonder if I need the if statement there. Let me just check. So initially, this is what it suggested. Initially, you suggested, and let's just, oops. copy this part. Then on the code, when I pasted the code, you wrote in the function. Let's just copy this part. Seems like you added if statements that you did not provide initially. Initially, it is the if statement required here. Don't give incorrect information. It says just checking if animation the variable we defined is not null. So I would assume that would be required maybe. It's not strictly required for the code to function under normal conditions. The reason it was added to the complete script is a defensive programming habit. If a script tries to call a component that doesn't exist, Unity will crash and a red null reference exception with a red null reference exception error and halt all subsequent logic interrupted function. So okay, I like defensive programming, so I'll just add that if statement in there. Um, okay. All right. Here we go. Save it. And if you didn't understand any of the code logic that's going on, if you don't understand code, that's totally fine. Just follow along. Okay, so now save this in your code editor. Flip back over to Unity and hit play. MassDude will now transition perfectly from his breathing animation into a sprint whenever you push your movement buttons. So take a look. Go back to Unity. Let it compile. Shouldn't take that long. All right, seems like it's all done. So let's go back to the game and hit play. Kill is okay. So breathing and running. Look at that. That is so much fun. Breathing, running. That is pretty epic if you ask me. Can we collect that coin? Yes, we can. Look at that. All right, so that worked out pretty well. Oh, we got our basic shape on level 2. All right, let's maybe end the session here because it's been almost half an hour. But we fixed our jumping, and we have now added our second animation in there as well. So our player now breathes and jumps, and I'll see you in the next video.